Hello, everyone. Welcome to United Way's Virtual Campaign Leaders Conference. I am so glad to see so many of you here today as we share tools and inspiration for this year's United Way campaign. I am Mitchell Crocker, and I will be your host today and tomorrow. I am a program manager for technology operations at Centerpoint Energy, and I have been involved with United Way for the last 7 years. Most recently, I served as co-chair of the Young Leaders Council and have been an active committee member for the last 5 years. United Way recently sent out a survey to see what your company campaigns look like this year. Some of you said you're already planning. Some of you said you have planned to start later than usual. And some of you said you don't know yet. We also heard that some are planning all virtual campaigns, while others are planning things in person. And others are planning for a combination of virtual and in person. Every situation is different, and the goal of this Campaign Leaders Conference is to provide you tools and resources for whatever type of campaign you are running, and to let you know that there is a team of people here ready to support you and help you. Let me give you a quick lay of the land, and then we will get started. United Way President and CEO, Amanda McMillan, the Community Campaign Chair, Steve Stevens, are going to kick things off and tell us a little bit about what is going on at United Way and with this year's campaign. Then we'll have a great panel discussion around campaign tools and ideas, including plenty we can implement virtually, followed by a Q&A and a drawing for an Amazon gift card. After that, we'll split up for our breakout sessions where you can go deeper on campaign best practices or virtual events. Sound good? We have a lot to cover, but I know it is going to be valuable and help equip us with the tools to help our colleagues understand the needs in our community and how we can help. You'll have opportunities to ask questions during the panel and the breakouts today, so please take advantage of the experience and expertise of our presenters. Now, without further ado, please welcome our fearless leader. She has been on the job for just over 3 months and is already deeply entrenched in United Way's everyday work and United Way's response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Join me in welcoming United Way of Greater Houston's President and CEO, Amanda McMillan.
Thank you, Mitchell, for that introduction. And thanks to all of you for joining today, for leading your campaigns and doing all the work you're doing to support United Way of Greater Houston. It's been about 5 months now since the spread of COVID-19 began across our area. As you know, United Way is a leader in times of disaster, and this time is no different. Our 211 Texas United Way helpline is your go-to resource in times of disaster and every day, and we've already connected 145,000 people with help and hope related to COVID-19 since March 1st. We immediately got to work this spring convening partners and assessing needs, and got together with the Greater Houston Community Foundation and partnered together with them on the Greater Houston COVID-19 Recovery Fund. We've raised almost $17 million to date in that fund and already deployed over $12 million in grants to trusted nonprofits providing critical services to the most vulnerable in our community. More than 40% of families in our area are working really hard every day and still struggling to take care of the basics, like food, housing, and healthcare. And that number was the case before COVID-19 came into our community. There's no doubt that need has increased significantly since that time. 80% of our annual investments are in programs and services now directly helping people affected by COVID-19, providing things like basic needs like food, housing, childcare, physical and behavioral health, and employment assistance. United Way is here to help people break down barriers, provide a safety net for immediate needs, and also help people achieve long-term success. Also central to our mission is our belief that the community's well-being depends on the well-being of everyone who lives here. That means that we will look to help close the opportunity gap, which is wider for people of color, and also continue to support projects like Thrive and Project Blueprint, which make headway against racism and underrepresentation. This is a critical time in our community, and we need your help now more than ever. We're so excited and grateful to have Steve Stevens leading our campaign this year. And we're also grateful for your leadership along the way as well. Thanks again for all you do, and I look forward to seeing you on the virtual campaign trail.
Thank you, Amanda. We are so glad to have you leading our United Way. We are also glad to have Steve Stevens, president of Amegy Bank, leading the United Way community campaign this year. Steve?
Thank you, Mitchell. I'm very grateful to chair the United Way community campaign and to work with all of you to give our neighbors opportunities to not only survive, but to thrive. This year's campaign looks very different, but it may be our most important campaign ever. As Amanda said, most of our neighbors need help more than ever before. Many of those who are already struggling are in even more dire situations because of COVID-19 and the economic fallout, and many others find themselves struggling for the first time. I truly believe United Way is the best and most effective way we can help. We hear a lot about essential organizations. United Way is the essential organization that can help people find services to meet their immediate needs and help them move toward long-term financial stability, and that invest in 100 different programs across the city that provide those services. United Way is unique that it does not just invest in impactful services, but also convenes stakeholders around big issues like financial stability, fosters collaboration between organizations. Many organizations are doing great work, but not talking to one another, and United Way helps them build relationships and work together, which strengthens our entire not-profit sector and helps those in need get better services more efficiently. Collaboration is more key than ever this year. Focuses on continuous quality improvement, both in its own work and in helping partners and other not-for-profits improve quality, and make sure every gift is well spent by ensuring the organizations it invests in are fiscally sound, have good governance, and are getting results. Those things make me feel good about the difference my gift to United Way makes. And as a banker, lets me know that my investment is generating a meaningful return. United Way Thrive is one great example of this all coming together. Thrive brings together not-profit partners, businesses, government, and others to address a really big issue, financial stability, through collaboration and a focus on sustainability. United Way is so fortunate to have a vast network of corporate and individual volunteers and donors, passionate people like you all, to be advocates and champions for this work. We need you more than ever before. Today, you're going to get tools and resources to help you share the United Way message and invite your colleagues and friends to get involved, whether virtually or in person. There are more resources on the United Way website, and the United Way team and I are here to help and support you every step of the way. We need the support of everyone to take care of our neighbors at this truly critical time. And you all, as leaders at your organizations, are so important to make that happen. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but I have seen you all come together and rally in some really tough times. And I know that we can do it again when our neighbors need us more than ever before. No community comes out of a tough time without bringing all their neighbors along with them to the other side. Our gifts, our time, and all the effort we put in the United Way campaign makes a real difference in the lives of people who need our help now more than ever before. People like John and his wife, who receive meals from Montgomery County Meals on Wheels.
So one of the great things about partnering with the United Way and the Greater Houston Community Foundation was the turnaround time between the ask and the receiving of funds. Food is an immediate need. There's no time frame that you can just wait. And so to have the funding was incredible. And then also we could anticipate how many more clients we could add to service. So before COVID-19, our kitchen was preparing hot meals for about 650 clients. Every day they received these meals. We had over 200 volunteers that would deliver them. Given the fact that we knew we were going to have to scale back the volunteers due to social isolation, we had to change our strategy. And so we moved to having the hot meal delivery every day to having a once a week frozen meal delivery so that we could still provide the nutrition for our seniors, but in a safe way, honoring social distancing.
I thought I had all the money I needed, but I didn't. And I started running low on money. And then she got invalid and I couldn't take her places. So I got on to One's a Meal through your Wheels on service, your mobility service. They would come and pick her up in a wheelchair and take her to the doctor's office. Then people started telling us about the meal portion of it, and I never dreamed that we'd be using them at all. Meals on Wheels have been really a relief. I don't have to get out and go to the grocery store and that sort of thing. And it's easy to cook. You just heat it up in the microwave, and it's a nice, furnish a little meal. It's been a good service, and the people have been really nice and did what they said they would do. It is difficult to accept help. You know, it's not something that you want to do. And but they need to swallow their pride and go ahead and ask for the help that's available. And have to remember also the people that are donating this and all have good hearts, and they're intending to it to really help. And you're helping them a little bit by accepting the service, you know.
So before COVID-19, our seniors relied on that. We call it a caring connection. The communication, the daily check-in from our volunteers, they become like family to them. And it's really important, and they rely on that communication with the community. They are isolated. I think that's one of the ironies of what our community has gone through, is that we've all experienced what our seniors experience every day. Social isolation is hard. It's difficult on you mentally, physically, emotionally. And so our seniors have really missed that day-to-day, face-to-face interaction. We have done Caring Connection phone calls where we call them to check in, ask them how they're doing, make sure that they have their medicines refilled. You know, a lot of them are challenged because they can't get to doctor appointments, and so they don't understand the virtual, how that works with the doctor appointments. And so just working through that with them. I know they're very ready to see their volunteers again, and our volunteers are very ready to get back and see their people again. On behalf of all of the precious clients we serve, thank you for your donations.
I love seeing stories like that, knowing that I was a part of making that difference in someone's life. Now I'd like to introduce our panel of experts to talk about what we can do to engage our colleagues and run strong campaigns this year. Our panelists include Regan Caseman, Senior Community Investment Advisor for Enbridge; Cheryl Lynn, Senior Community Relations Analyst for ConocoPhillips; Lynn Smith, Vice President of Digital Services for United Way Worldwide; Amy Bierman, Manager of Donor Relations for United Way of Greater Houston. We'll have some time at the end for our panelists to answer your questions, so make sure to put any questions you have in the chat, and one of our United Way staff will select a few for our panelists. After the Q&A, we'll have a drawing for an Amazon gift card. So make sure you stick around. Everyone watching live will be entered in a random drawing for that gift card. Cheryl and Regan, can you each highlight some of your past campaign successes and how you are adapting aspects for this year's campaign?
Cheryl, do you want to take that first?
Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and go first. So at ConocoPhillips, we've been a longstanding partner of the United Way of Greater Houston for over 30 years. We've contributed nearly $78.7 million throughout our campaigns. So traditionally, some of our past campaign successes have included focusing more on employee engagement and participation versus setting a fundraising dollar amount. amount. So in 2019, we actually saw a 4% increase in our pledges, and also exceeded our previous year's participation rate from 77% participation in 2018 to 81% employee participation in 2019. This was also thanks in huge part to our steering committee, which is comprised of members from different groups and teams within the company, whose role really plays a critical part in achieving our campaign success. We also engage our leadership prior to the campaign's launch just to make them aware of various fundraising activities and events in which their employees and teams can become directly involved throughout the campaign. So for 2020, we're planning to continue with our campaign focus on employee engagement and participation versus setting a fundraising dollar amount. Just given the events that have impacted not only our industry, but also related to COVID-19, we're just committed to maintaining our strategy of educating our employees more about the United Way of Greater Houston through increased campaign communications and maybe other ways and incentives to keep our employees engaged with our shift to a completely virtual campaign for this year.
Enbridge has a 28-year history of supporting the United Way of Greater Houston at the $1 million plus level. So it is history that we're incredibly proud of. We've long had representation on the United Way board, and so it is just part of our DNA. It's part of who we are. Certainly this year we're operating in interesting times. Cheryl had indicated that the focus has long been about participation, and that has been of paramount concern to us, and one of the goals that we've set. We've defined participation as returning a pledge card. We hope that somebody, that our employees will choose to make a financial investment so that we can match the investment dollar for dollar. But we're really trying to do is engage our employees, and we're trying to educate our employees on the important work happening on behalf of the United Way and all of their partner organizations and agencies. So for calendar year 2020, our campaign goal is, we've set it at 80%, which is slightly lower than last year because we're just being realistic and regarding the environment that we're operating in. We are full force. We will be working to educate our employees as we always have been. It's just going to be virtual this year. So we don't have the benefit of being together and being able to meet in person, to gather in person, to have our steering committee members pop into our employees' offices to encourage their participation. So it will be virtually based, and we're going to focus on engagement through a number of lunch and learns where we're focusing on Alice, on 211 and Thrive as a means of, again, educating our employees, and we're going to capitalize on the United Way virtual bingo as another means. So full throttle, full steam ahead. We're doing what we've always done so well and beautifully, but just in a bit of a unique operating environment. The commitment, however, remains steadfast.
Thank you for those great insights, Cheryl and Regan. I have another question for you too. With everything that is going on in our community and the impact at your companies, can you share what factors were considered when deciding on the timing of your campaigns this year?
Yeah, so the health and safety of our workforce and just all those who participate in the campaign remain a top priority for ConocoPhillips. The timing for our campaign this year is September 14th through the 25th. Historically, it's been a 2-week campaign, and it's actually been set with our planning team since late last year. But we made the decision to still continue with our campaign dates, but decided sometime in June, just with the amount of COVID-19 cases rising, specifically in the Houston area, to make that decision to shift to a completely virtual campaign. We want to demonstrate our commitment, of course, to reducing the spread of COVID-19 in our communities and remaining vigilant and adhering to our company and local guidance in regards to health and safety protocols. So we felt that the decision to move to a virtual campaign certainly aligns with that commitment.
And we had scheduled our campaign in early 2020 before any of us had ever heard of COVID-19. So we've been long scheduled. We're sticking to our guns. We're adhering to the time frame that we had initially set But much like Cheryl, everything will be virtual. We had hoped maybe earlier in the summer, before we started seeing the spikes in Houston, that some segments of the employee population would be back in the office. But given the spikes, it's just not practical, because our priority, of course, as well, is our employee health and safety and well-being, and not contributing to community spread. So we will be strictly virtual this campaign season.
Thank you for those insights and sticking to your schedule. Amy and Lynn, I have one last question for you. What are some of the solutions you have found for adapting from a traditional campaign strategy to a virtual one?
Absolutely. So I'll sort of kick things off. I think just from a perspective, I mean, you've heard from both Cheryl and Regan about how important employee engagement is. And so really setting the mindset of seeing a virtual campaign as an opportunity versus just a challenge. So starting with that mindset, really just thinking of all the ways we can adapt our campaign and be just as successful as past years. So many of us are all familiar by this point with switching things that used to be in person to virtual platforms. So we certainly anticipate that in the campaign this year, and are excited for a lot of engaging kickoffs and closing events and mid-campaign events, lunch and learns. So certainly can adapt in that way, just using our virtual platforms. We also have some new tools that we're going to roll out this year that we hope all companies will be able to leverage. We have an awesome sort of online simulation that we're calling Making Tough Choices, that I think will be a really interesting engagement and learning activity for employees to take advantage of in the campaign. They could do it individually, they can do it in small teams, but it's a really sort of eye-opening simulation just to see if you can make some of those challenging choices that many of our community members are forced to make during this difficult financial situation they're experiencing. On top of that, you know, we have a lot of companies who traditionally have done bus tours or have loved to go out and visit our agencies. And so we've adapted that to be able to provide virtual bus tours. And honestly, you know, it could be easier to attend a virtual bus tour than it was to carve out an hour and a half and do an in-person bus tour. So we're really looking forward to leveraging some new video content that could be used virtually throughout the campaign. As Regan mentioned, we have a United Way bingo card. And so, you know, we want to still be able to incorporate some of those fun elements that many of our companies are used to having in their campaign. So leveraging bingo, we're also going to have a United Way Family Feud that can be done over Zoom. So we'll make that available for companies to use. Of course, volunteering is a huge question, right? A lot of corporate campaigns engage their employee base and get them committed to the campaign through volunteering in the community. And so we've adapted to provide virtual and remote volunteer opportunities that I think employees will be able to take advantage of. And then the last couple of pieces of advice, you know, I know special events is a big question for a lot of companies. It's a big source of revenue fundraising. And so we've seen some companies who, you know, are just postponing some of those tournaments to the first quarter of 2021 and leveraging the fact that we don't close our community campaign until March of 2021. So that's one way that you can adapt. But, you know, United Way staff are here day in and day out and are happy to do virtual speaking opportunities to educate and inspire your workforce. So I really feel like there's a lot of ways that we can adapt our virtual campaign to still leverage all the successful elements that our companies are used to.
I'll just add on to what Amy had to say. When I look across the local United Way network here in the U.S. with 1,100 different local United Ways, I'm seeing a tremendous call out for people that really want to connect with their community of friends that they've built up over the years with their local United Way. They are just really looking forward to the many events that have been planned as they have gone from live events to virtual events, whether it is yoga on Saturdays, of course, cameras off for that. We're seeing some rich conversations taking place with virtual book clubs. And of course, as Amy mentioned, game night is really big for a lot of local United Way or groups of people that are getting together. Some of the new sort of fun things that we're hearing is that they really want to engage and involve their families. So we've seen some cooking events that have been happening where groceries are delivered to the home and then they have a celebrity chef do pizza night for the family. We've also heard stories of plans for a wine tasting or a bourbon tasting happening in different markets, depending on where they're located. There's a lot of things that folks are wanting to take advantage of. We've seen in a number of different, what used to be large scale events that were held in person. We're seeing that they are even, they're being wildly successful on a virtual platform. Of course, there are many elements that are in common for both virtual and live events. A lot of focus on the planning and the execution of the event, engaging celebrity and speakers as a draw for the events. But there are new fun elements that can be added, like one of the local United Ways had children who benefited from a partner agency's contribution of equipment to their students to be educated at home. And the children were actually the MCs of the event. Because they're not in school, they were able to be recorded at home on their mom's iPhone camera. And it was a fabulous event. We're seeing actually, as we look across the network, many of the in-person events have had an increased participation in the number of people that are able to participate virtually, as well as the dollars that are donated. Folks no longer have artificial boundaries, where I have to drive to a hotel or a conference venue to participate. I just need a dial-in number and I can participate virtually wherever I am and in whatever community I care about. So lots of new and innovative ways that local United Ways have decided to kind of engage their donors to make a difference in their communities.
That's awesome. I can't wait to experience these innovative and creative ways to engage in this campaign. Now we will go to our audience and for questions. Taylor, do we have any questions from the audience for our panelists?
Hey everyone. So good to virtually be here with y'all today. So we do have a few questions from the audience. And so what I will go ahead and I'll start with, we had a really great one from RH Gold, who asked, and I'm going to direct this question to Amy and Lynn, about how do you have recommendations, or are there any recommendations on how to make a virtual campaign work with manufacturing organizations? What are some of those tools? Amy, you talked about a lot of great ones. What are some of those tools that they can utilize to get engagement?
Definitely. Yeah, I'll take that one away. It's definitely not easy, right? And everyone's situation at their company is probably a little bit unique. So really encourage you to reach out to your United Way representative for some custom answers. But just sort of initial thoughts regarding, a virtual campaign in a manufacturing organization. Maybe there's an opportunity to print some custom posters that go around your facility and rely on that sort of communication. Maybe you have QR codes. I'm not sure if your staff are able to have their smartphones with them or access content that way. I've seen some manufacturing facilities who, have set up a screen and, maybe break time around the facility, you could have video content playing there. So that's a couple of ideas, but we're definitely happy to work with any sort of custom situation that you have for your company, and just encourage you to reach out to your United Way reps so we can come up with a more customized plan that fits your needs.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy. So I have another question. This is going to be directed to Cheryl and Regan. How do y'all motivate your employees during this time, or how do you envision the United Way campaign will help with motivation with the employees?
Yeah, sure. So at ConocoPhillips, we're definitely planning to offer some incentives. Our early bird pledges have been something that is one to highlight from previous campaigns. Another incentive that we've offered, if we were able to achieve our participation percentage, is a day off with pay incentive. I think I saw in the chat there was someone asking if ConocoPhillips has set a goal for this year. We haven't just yet. We're still trying to figure that out with our leadership. If there's a goal we'd like to set for this year, in the past it's been 75% to be able to earn the day off with pay incentive, but we're still in talks for this year. We also engage our leadership prior to the campaign launch, as I mentioned, just to give them a heads up as to what to expect and how they can encourage their employees to become directly involved. We're trying to come up with an assortment of various fundraising events and activities, just to be able to try to motivate our employees to participate in this year's campaign from a virtual perspective. So.
Awesome. Regan, what about you? What's suggestions at Enbridge?
So much like Cheryl, we have long done an early bird parking drawing for folks who get their cards in early. This year, they may get their cards in early and it may be a delay for them to actually enjoy the parking spot, but we'll work through that. We also, we divide our employees up by floor, and we have a team competition. And our team competition is solely based on returning the pledge card with or without an investment, which is the way that we define participation. And so there's in the chat, I did want to clarify. So our goal for this calendar year, for this campaign, is to get 80% of our cards in, and that is defined as participating. We don't have a dollar goal that is raised. But with regards to the team competition, we have set some milestones. So for teams that have 90 or 95 or 100% of their cards in, there is a bonus opportunity. And the winning team gets bragging rights, which may be bigger than anything that we could offer anybody, honestly. But also, once it's safe for us to be back in the office and gathered, we will provide a snack break full of snacks and treats for the winning team. And then also, any employee who returns a pledge card with or without an investment goes into a drawing that is typically hosted at our campaign celebration for parking and athletic tickets. And we're thinking a little bit more creatively this year because seasons are delayed, parking is not readily enjoyable. So we're working with our campaign leadership team to see what kind of fun we can have up our sleeves. So hopefully that answers the questions and gives folks some good ideas.
It really does. Thank you so much, Regan and Cheryl, for that answer. So one of the questions we got that I'll go ahead and answer is from Teresa. Teresa wanted to know if there was a 211 call center virtual tour. And Teresa, there will be, and we're really excited as well. Tomorrow, we're going to share through Mission and Strategy more about what we are doing and how we adapted 211 virtually during this time, still answering calls and making sure we're there while also maintaining strict social distancing guidelines. So that will, you'll learn more about that tomorrow and get an opportunity to see more about that. I do have a question, and I'm not sure the best person to answer this, but Lynn, maybe you would have some great thoughts here. Is Greg Marshall has said that they historically used a combination of email and printed appeals, and they've always had pretty low open rates on emails, so their printed appeals were very important. But he's trying to figure out, how does he break through some of that noise and get more of those email appeals to work? Lynn, could you answer that?
Yeah, of course. We're finding actually that folks that are now working from home are more prone to opening their emails and responding to them right away. It's kind of been a shift for us in other markets that we've seen. So, work with your communications teams, work with different types of subject lines, call to action. It's also okay to throw out some spiffs, as I would call them, for the first, depending on the size of the company, whether it's the first 5 to respond or the first 100 to respond. Maybe it's a book or a sticker of some sort that you can win. But I think you'll see a bigger uptick on emails if you get creative, make them interesting, and see how the subject lines work. But your communications team at your company can certainly help, as can United Way of Greater Houston.
Yeah, Jamie, I'll jump in too a little bit because that's part of the focus of one of our breakouts tomorrow, the session that I'm leading. So we have some specific examples of different ways that you can personalize your email communication and add some incentives. And we do think that that will help with some open rates for email content. So Greg, if you're not able to attend the breakout session tomorrow called Personalizing Your Campaign, you'll be able to watch the recording or feel free to reach out and we can share that content as well.
Thank you, Amy and Lynn. That's fabulous. You know, and Amy, I'm going to direct another question to you because we've had a few people in the chat who are interested in learning about how they can get their United Way representatives. I apologize if you'll hear the dogs in the background. That is one of the new virtual realities we're dealing with. But how do they get a United Way staff representative? And how do they get in contact and start this campaign, you know, ready and rearing to go?
Yeah, good question. So if you don't know who your United Way representative is, feel free to reach out via email and we can let you know who your contact is. I'll go ahead and pop my email address in the chat if that's helpful. So each company campaign will have their own specific United Way account staff member. So I'll go ahead and put my email there, shoot me a note, and I can let you know which person is assigned to you if you don't already know that information.
Awesome. So Regan and Cheryl, and actually anyone who wants to take this, how do you feel that the United Way campaign is different from other company campaigns, or how do you explain that to your coworkers?
I'm glad to take that. We've long been a United Way campaign. I mean, that is it. I think, Taylor, you're trying to, the question is how we differentiate the United Way campaign from other fundraising endeavors during the course of the year. We really, our focus annually is, you know, our biggie is the United Way. We do Junior Achievement Bowl-a-thon, but we have long been a United Way company. So there is no differentiating, there is no mistaking what our United Way campaign and commitment is, because it is every fall and it is loud, it is visible, and it is a real source of pride. An outstanding way to support the local community, but it's also a really wonderful way to create a sense of camaraderie within, because collectively employees are all working towards a common goal. And you know, now more than ever, no one can argue the needs in our community are great. So we're trying to foster that camaraderie through the virtual engagement, and clearly there's nothing like being, you know, face to face with people to foster that. But again, you know, we're implementing as much as we can to engage employees virtually, but United Way is our campaign of campaigns every year.
And similar to Enbridge, ConocoPhillips does the same. You know, the United Way campaign is something that our employees look forward to. There's lots of team building events and opportunities that, you know, we're able to collectively get together, again, toward that common goal that Regan mentioned. You know, we realize that the United Way encompasses the broad needs of our local community, and just recognize that it takes everyone in our community working together just to build and create that brighter future. So by showing the impact of a donor's contribution, through fun team building ways, you know, the campaign is definitely one that, you know, we definitely look forward to every fall.
Thank you. So in the chat, I want to draw y'all's attention to the chat. There's been several great questions in regards to how do they find out who their United Way staff person is, things like that. So Amy Bierman, who's on our panel today, has supplied her email address if you're not sure who your person is. And then Rose Taylor, who runs our agency campaigns, has supplied her email address as well. So there's also been a couple questions about what we're going to be able to find in the toolbox, where people can find the case and make the case for why the need in Houston is greater than ever before. And we're really committed to education, and we really want to help make that case for y'all. One of the things that tomorrow's session will bring is our mission and strategy individuals, and they're going to talk about not only the short-term needs that have come up through the COVID-19 time period, but also why it's more important than ever and why the need has never been greater. So connecting, the short-term relief from COVID-19, as well as the long-term goals that United Way of Greater Houston is going to be. And I would like to mention, if for whatever reason someone's not able to participate in one or more of the breakout sessions or in this, we will have recordings of this available to people as well. So I just wanted, I think there was a couple questions asked all about that, and want to make sure that we have that explained on there. So that I think is going to be really important. Let's see, there's a couple other questions that we had. So Regan, you've been a part and helped us for a long time running the United Way campaign. Can you tell us what's been your favorite aspect, or what do you like best about running the campaign? And then Cheryl, you in the same way have been running the United Way campaign as well. So what are your favorite aspects about that?
So what I love so much about the campaign, and I've had my fingers in about 19 campaigns now. I date back to the Duke Energy days and through the Spectra days, and now as Enbridge. So I love seeing the project from infancy to maturity. And then I love, my favorite afternoon of the year is our campaign celebration, where we gather our employees, and Anna and now Amanda, well, virtually, we'll see what it looks like, have joined us to present our check. The energy is palatable. It is so tangible, and it creates such a great sense of pride. So that is what I love so much about the campaign.
And for me, it's just a great opportunity to work with employees from across our company. We have different steering committee members every year representing different parts of the company. And so just being able to work in community relations, you also see that positive impact that the company makes to help those who need it most in our communities. Something that is very memorable for me about our campaign is our kickoff, and just the energy that's surrounding the kickoff. Just knowing what's to come for the next 2 weeks, trying to raise funds for the United Way.
Well, guys, I think we're getting to the end of our questions on here. Does anyone have any more? Want to make sure I'm sending it back to the chat and addressing that appropriately. All right. Well, it looks like we have just fallen on our last question, so we're about to do breakouts. So before I do that, I believe, Mitch, do you have any closing words for us?
I'm glad this session is being recorded, because that was a lot of great insights we've gotten from our panelists, and I'm thankful to collaborate with my colleagues at Center for Energy. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your ideas and experience. I hope you all gained as much insight as I did, and taking back to your companies. Now it is time to announce the winner of our first drawing for an Amazon gift card. Taylor, who's the winner?
Yes, so today our winner of the Amazon gift card is Vanessa Furman. So Vanessa, we're going to go ahead and email you that Amazon gift card later today. So congratulations, and thanks for being on and participating with us today.
Yes, congratulations, Vanessa. Now it's time to select a breakout session. Even if you pre-selected your breakout, due to technical issues, you will now need to select again through the chat. Please select the corresponding link in the chat for either the best practices breakout or the special events breakout to get you into that session. Again, even if you pre-selected your breakout session when you RSVP'd, You will have to select the desired breakout in the chat at this time. You may return to this webinar if you have any questions or issues. Just post them to the chat and United Way personnel will assist. See you back soon.